A desperation to witness change against the incumbent TMC is one of the dominant trend. And when they are desperate for a regime change, they are also frustrated with the underwhelming presence of the prime challenger, that is the BJP. So desperation with against the incumbent and frustration with the prime challenger are two dominant sentiments that you find coexisting. The very domineering behavior of the TMC local leadership, people said that it has only increased for bad. The sense of frustration among the youths was rampant, and therefore minorities are expected to consolidate despite their generic frustration on the ground. Right. Then do expect that if at all you expect more women to come out and vote for TMC, it needs to be huge and substantial. It cannot be an incremental increase from 1500 to 2500, etc. Right? Because the frustration is generic.
Hi, this is Pratim Ranjan Bose, and you are watching Podcast with Pratim. My today's guest is political analyst and poll star Sajjan Kumar Singh. Welcome, Sajjan.
Thank you.
We will discuss West Bengal election and the how is the ground scene. We just had, he had been in Calcutta recently, and we also traveled a bit. That's apart from the separate journeys we make or made. Sajjan, before we start, let me just take you back to Bihar, where you have been here also, and you said that Prashant Kishore's party will not make much dent, and in fact, I think they performed way beyond your expectations. Even you didn't expect much from them, but they failed even up to reach up to that level. But leave PK apart. The basic thing that we discussed, and I heard you saying that in Bihar, two things have happened. Number one, Nitish Kumar brought in an electric scheme. I'm not very appreciative for that scheme, for this railway politics. Unfortunately, I think that destroys the economy. Having said that, BJP won overwhelmingly. Now, you also said that the NDA would have won, maybe in a lesser margin, without that 10K bribe. So, before I would just like you to explain your position on Bihar before we get into Bengal, because everyone expects the tidal wave to reach Bengal. Over to you.
Yes, thank you. With regard to Bihar, directional clarity was there. Directional clarity much before the 10,000 Mukhyamantri Rozgar Yojana, that is CM welfare employment scheme, was launched closer to the election. Even before that, the directional clarity was in favor of the ruling party, the incumbent, precisely because the reference or the alternative to the incumbent has a huge baggage. The baggage of memory, the baggage of their core support being considered as nuisance. And besides that, except the NDA and particularly the chief minister, no other leader in the opposition parties, be it RJD or Congress, are identified with welfare schemes. Right? So these advantages had already given a directional edge to the incumbent, both JDU and BJP, the NDA, and irrespective of 10,000 scheme transferred to 1.4 crore women, the NDA would have won the election. Maybe the margin would have been around 140 to 150 out of 243. So what 10,000 scheme did to the incumbent party was translating the comfortable victory which would have been there to a whopping majority. So that quantum jump was there. But it was never the case that without the 10,000 scheme, RJD and Mahagathbandhan had a chance to capture power. That was not there. Why? Because despite all the attempt by the anchor of the Mahagathbandhan, Tejaswi Yadav, to project himself as a leader of all Bihar and all Biharis, the party is still identified with the core constituency M plus Y, Muslims plus Yadavs, to the memory of 1990s or the 15 years from 1990 to 2005 as the era of misgovernance, kidnapping being the only industry wherein the state had disappeared and lawlessness was the dominant presence and experience. That still haunts the prime challenger. And therefore, nowhere closer to the election, there was any possibility that the incumbent, despite not being novel about schemes and other things, for the last 20 years, the incumbent have been continuing the same sort of welfare scheme centering, reaching out to the people. Despite all those things, it had a huge perception advantage, which seamlessly translated into votes because of good alliance and also because of the leadership and because of the alternative being considered a baggage, a backward journey. And therefore, Bihar mandate was done and dusted.
So you said something very important. You said that voters have asserted that voting for RJD is a backward journey or will be a backward journey. To put it straight, so voters, I mean, to my understanding, voters wanted to move forward, right? Now we will look West Bengal through that same prism. You have traveled recently. So you tell me, what is your take on West Bengal voters and what are they thinking, where the parties are failing or they're successful? And as in West Bengal, I think both of us have seen it on ground that left is gone. We didn't see any trace of it. We didn't see people discussing it. I mean, bringing up to their reference. So, over to you.
So, Pratim, you have asked three questions. One, what is the generic sentiment on the ground with regard to the coming election and the political scenario? Two, how do they see the BJP and the TMC from their vantage point? And three, where does CPM stands, right? So let's take them one by one briefly. Now, coming to the first aspect, on the ground, and you were also witness, there are two competing sentiments which are the dominant sentiments across Bengal, which is there on the ground. One, an intense level of desperation to see change. People want change, and that is an obvious phenomenon the moment you hit the ground. So, a desperation to witness change against the incumbent TMC is one of the dominant trend. Why? Because people want to see Bengal not losing out, not only to other states, but also to its perceived status of the past. And there is a generic feeling that Bengal and Bengalis are losing out. This is one. And this frustration, particularly among the youth across Bengal, is very dominant. Having said that, there is another sentiment which also comes from the same set of people who desire an intense level of change. And that is when they want change and when they are desperate for a regime change, they are also frustrated with the underwhelming presence of the prime challenger, that is the BJP, both in terms of its state and district level leadership, as well as its organizational presence.
In
So
capacity.
and capacity. So that's a very strange phenomenon. The one who wants to see change desperately are also frustrated that the rival who could be the anchor of change doesn't seem to be present when it should have been in the last 5 years, down up to district level. Be it about the leadership or be it about the organizational presence, you do not see that happening. So desperation with against the incumbent and frustration with the prime challenger are two dominant sentiments that you find coexisting. So this misfit is there as a political reality on the ground in Bengal, and therefore much would depend whether the incumbent would be able to satiate and neutralize some of the intense desperation seeking change, or the prime challenger, the BJP, would be able this time to select candidates who have organic linkages to the ground rather than imposing and parachuting candidates and frustrating the organization and thereby alienating its core voters. So whether the challenger would be able to encash the desperation for change, or the incumbent TMC would be able to neutralize them via many reaching out phenomenon, be it policy schemes, etc., that is yet to be seen. But what I am trying to say, that going by the ground sentiment of desperation and frustration with incumbent and the prime challenger, TMC and BJP respectively, the election as of now is open-ended. This is not a done and dusted election like Bihar, wherein the incumbent was having the edge. In Bengal, it's open-ended, and we need to wait and see the moves of respective parties.
Together or separately, we traveled in places, one which is a BJP bastion, where you expect BJP, where BJP had been winning, and which is a Trinamool bastion, right? Now, so it would be nice, before we get into BJP, that what has been your observation in either places on TMC, particularly the TMC bastion, where people are not unhappy to the TMC to that level, but whether there has been an increase in unhappiness over the last 5 years.
Yes, I mean, let's take the TMC bastion towards Hooghly. What's the name of constituency after Singur? Harin.
I'm just dropping the names, leaving the names apart, but
yeah,
it's Haripal. Yeah,
sorry, Haripal, and so many other constituencies wherein you expect TMC to hold the ground. Now, even there, and even among the constituents who preferred that they would like to vote for TMC, the enthusiasm was completely missing. There were complaints with regard to the organization, the same set of factors that you witnessed in 2019 Lok Sabha election, 2021 assembly elections, about the very domineering behavior of the TMC local leadership. People said that it has only increased for bad. The sense of frustration among the youths was rampant. These are the parts wherein you find TMC bastion, wherein outstate migration historically has been less, but now you find that youths are compelled to go for that. And therefore, even the ones who identified themselves as Congress to TMC voters against CPM traditionally, you find there is a sense of depression, disillusionment. And that only says that the incumbent party has completely failed to enthuse its core voters, either on policy plank or in terms of perception advantage that state is doing good. To the prime plank of the TMC, which sustains itself on the ground, we are not going into demographic factor. I am saying prime plank that there are more than 50 schemes via which many of the households are sustaining in Bengal. Now, there is a limit to which you can keep on expecting your voter to give you repeated mandate, because there is a parallel aspirational index which doesn't recognize a subsistence level welfare scheme that TMC is dependent upon.
Yes, that's very interesting point you made. Let me, since I was with you, so let me say this, that this is one of the interesting findings, that people are not really giving much weightage to those cash handout schemes. I think, isn't it correct, Sajjan?
Yes, precisely. You don't see any enthusiasm, but there is a sense of defeatism, that how long you expect the households, the young generation, to survive on the subsistence level welfare schemes. Fine, when it started, it was considered to be good, but now there's nothing new. It's a continuation of the same. And one more thing, Pratim, this reality is also there in Bihar. But in Bihar, the incumbent had the advantage of a bad reference.
Taking along from your point is, let us just assume that Mamata Banerjee, before every election, she brings in something or increases some handouts. So Mamata Banerjee will up the game this time.
Yes, precisely.
That is obviously in the villages also people are expecting. So one important factor here is that people have already discounted that, whatever we are discussing. So what do you think that it will change the voters? Because this is going to be, West Bengal is going to be a voter selection. The parties are not responsible for attracting votes, whether it is TMC or BJP. So in that case, do you think a higher cash handout will, kind of tilt the mandate?
Maybe, may not be. We have to go with the different segments of demography. Let's assume that Mamata Banerjee, and why to assume? Rationality suggests that perhaps the incumbent in Bengal also will go out for something that happened in Bihar, right? Now, which segment of Bengal's demography will be enthused and which won't be? So I think the ones who may be positively responding, or at least will keep on supporting the TMC, would be one, the tribal segment. Why? Because the tribals are, in their everyday life, are dependent on a subsistence level support of the state in Bengal. So to them, that factor paramounts every other consideration. They do not have the privilege to think about a long-term patient transition of the state from here to a better scenario, right? So they are the ones who are at the receiving end, and the welfare scheme centric reaching out to them certainly will have a huge traction. So do expect the tribals will be enthused. To let's talk about two segments who are expected to be privileged. One, the minorities constituting around 30% of Bengal, and two, the Mahilas. So we have two M's, right? And do expect them to be reached out and trying to get their support. So among the minorities, going by their psychology, do expect that this time they would be consolidated.
They have
That's
already consolidated in 2020.
yes,
Consolidated. So this is
exactly.
discounted fact.
So
Everyone is
all
confident.
these talks about OIC splitting some votes and uh, uh, the other claimants from Abbas Siddiqui, etc. These are, wishful thinking by the BJP support base. That is not going to
Only
happen in
if there
Bengal,
was a if Congress was a serious challenger, only they could divide the Muslim votes,
which they are not, which they are not, you
which they
know.
are not. And in 2024, we have seen a clear, untold transfer of votes.
See, the one example would suffice. What is the state of minority voting in Bengal? 2024, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary losing out to, Yusuf Pathan, a Muslim, a cricketer from Gujarat. You know that shows you how the minorities are going to vote in favor of TMC in Bengal. So that is discounted. With regard to the Mahila voters, yes, as I said, that the Mahilas also are negotiated through multiple identities.
They
So
also voted in higher numbers for TMC in the last election,
last
right?
means 2024 or 2021?
2024.
Yes, 2024 they voted more.
I mean, I'm not taking 2021, but
But in
20.
2021, except yes, precisely. In 2024, the female vote to TMC was way more than the BJP, and that's precisely because of the scheme-centric outreach. And this is a budge wherein you find on the ground that Mamata is expected to reach out to the Mahilas, the women, and that may or may not. But what you expect this time, that certainly it's not going to be a 2024 phenomenon this time. Why? Because uh, it one needs to see who are the anchor of votes at the household level, except for the elite and very middle class households in Bengal outside Kolkata. The unit of which way the voting would go is basically a discussion within family. If women end up influencing the dominant voting pattern at the household level, then it is advantage to TMC. But if you find, because we have seen, and you were also there, that youths this time are completely disillusioned. It is their frustration. So, will the young youth identity prevail
The
even among?
frustration of the youth, if you remember, Sajjan, it has been going upwards only. If we are very prominently from, if we just go back and check 2019, 2021, 2024, the frustration of the youth was evident and it was rising. Probably it was rising from the 1990s, right? So all we can say is that the frustration which was there has gone up. And
It has
women
gone
are
up.
not outside that frustration. We spoke to many women.
Yes.
We spoke to many women. So 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees is not everything to them. They are household issues. They are whether they are getting, whether there is road. These are big issues.
Yes, precisely. So that is why whether many of the women who also are youths, so will their age centric identity of being youth, if that dominates, that is the desperation against that we said at the beginning, the incumbent, then women are not going to vote as women, right? This is one. Now, if youth become the main anchor, then certainly you expect that not only youth are going to vote against the incumbent, they will also pull along their families to vote against the incumbent. However, having said that there are many filters. One is the identity, that is 30% Muslims. They have other considerations beside that frustration because there is a minority psychology. Two, as we said, the tribals are there. Their economic condition is of a precariat who are surviving on subsistence level. So certainly you expect them to respond more to schemes. And three, also, what would be the new scheme centric reaching out? Will it be something around 10,000 rupee? Or it would be something which would be wherein the Lucky Bandar, which has been increased, I suppose, from 1,000 to 1,500 as of now? You know, will it
Right.
be 2,500 or something? Then do expect that If at all you expect more women to come out and vote for TMC, it needs to be huge and substantial. It cannot be an incremental increase from 1500 to 2500, etc. Right? Because the frustration is genuine. And that frustration can be neutralized as a logical possibility if and only if the doles or the schemes are huge, something that you witnessed in Bihar.